Hello and welcome to the first video of 2020. Happy New Year to everybody. Now over the festive period, I'm sure a lot of people have got some new puzzles, either bought for them, they bought themselves, or maybe in some Secret Santa exchange. And one puzzle that I particularly enjoy playing with are slide puzzles. And throughout my time playing with slide puzzles, I found that they can be quite frustrating, but a few hints and tips, not necessarily solutions, can help you out, and that's what I want to look at today. So this first video is going to be about hints and tips. Just to show you the wide variety of different types of slide puzzle you can get. This is Number, which is by Hanayama, and these pieces slide around the board to create different numbers, and the idea is to get the numbers 1 to 9 in order. It's a nice tricky little puzzle, not overly difficult. I know some people really struggled with this, but I actually found it fairly easy and quite enjoyable. But it's a nice puzzle to have. You can see how the pieces are set up. We have acrylic pieces with some markings on, and obviously on the board there's some markings as well, and they go together to form different numbers. I'll put a link to where you can get this puzzle down below, but it's not necessarily the first one I recommend. The kind of slide puzzles I tend to enjoy are ones that have got physical constraints. So this is a very interesting puzzle. I'm going to show people how this interesting slide puzzle works in a couple of weeks' time, so look out for that. But these kind of slide puzzles, this one's called Stacking Cups. It's by Dinier Mandarin. He's done, I've done a video on some of his puzzles when I unboxed a bunch of puzzles from him. This is a very difficult puzzle. It's got quite difficult constraints with, even though the pieces seem quite loose, they actually, you do struggle to kind of move them around and to exchange positions. So a really nice puzzle, very difficult. Stacking Cups. African Mask, I've not solved this one. This one I've had a couple of attempts at. It's actually physically constrained because you can slide some pieces on top of others. So the idea of what you need to do is quite simple, just swap these two purple pieces over, but it's actually quite difficult to do. I feel like I'm going to have another crack at that in the next couple of days and try and get that solved and boxed off. One of my favourite slide puzzles with lots of physical constraints is this one. And this one's constrained because you have these L puzzles that don't move very easily and block other pieces. The idea of this puzzle is to collect the ball from the right hand side using your attacker, and then once you've collected the ball, your attacker passes it, your defender, sorry, or attacker, doesn't really matter, passes it to the other player on his team, and then he scores. So you kind of have to really move that ball around. It's a really nice puzzle, and again I'm going to put a little link to where you can get these puzzles, or maybe describe where you can get those last 3 slide puzzles. 2 more to look at. Now this one is a physical representation of Jimmy Stevens' block slide puzzles. I'm going to put a link below to where you can play these online. When I get free time on my phone, I'll have a go at playing these puzzles. I've solved most of them, and I thought, you know what, I really enjoyed solving them, and what I want to do is make a physical representation of those puzzles. So I actually contacted Jimmy and asked, would that be okay if I just made a copy or two, some for myself and some friends to kind of play with. He said that was fine for me to do that. But I'll put a link below so you can see kind of how to play these on your phone. This actual setup there, the idea is always to take the dark colour or the red colour and get it into the top corner. So that is an 18 move solution, and I'm going to try and solve that one. I'm going to solve it at the end of this video just so that I don't have to put 2 spoiler breaks in. So I'll come back to that one. And now really onto the meat of what this video is about, which is how to solve side puzzles, hints and tips. So this is the Chessmen Puzzle. The Chessmen Puzzle is just a variant of a very common slide puzzle, where the idea is to take the larger block and slide it out of the base here. But this will allow me to explain how I go about solving all these different types of slide puzzle. So the first thing I do is I think, and that's really overrated or underrated thinking, sorry. So whenever you get a puzzle, the first thing you want to do, whether it's a Hanayama or whether it's a slide puzzle like this, is you want to start moving pieces around and trying to solve it as quickly as possible, but you're not really thinking about what you're doing a lot of the time. So it's hard to replicate, it's hard to understand the problem. So, the biggest tip that any puzzler can give anybody else is take your time and think, okay, these puzzles are meant to be enjoyable, not necessarily against the clock. Second one is think about those limitations and constraints that your puzzle might be imposing upon you. What is stopping this sliding out, for example. Now, if I look at this puzzle, I seem to have obviously the large king piece, but I've got these 4 large pieces, the knights and the bishops. The pawns and the rooks are a major constraint at the moment. Obviously they take up space, so they are a constraint. But if I take them out and just think, how would I solve this puzzle now? Then obviously I want to take the king down. I can't take him past the 2 bishops. And if I put the bishops to one side, the king can't move to one side and get past. So obviously having those bishops, underneath in this orientation, they'll have to be together to allow the king down. But also I can't have the knights either side. At least one of these knights is going to have to move out of the way. And then I can think about manoeuvring my pieces around. Now I'm not sure what the minimum move number is for this puzzle. I've solved it in the past, but I'm not too concerned about minimum moves. I'm not a computer. I don't count as I go. If you do count, by the way, when you're doing slide puzzles, that would be 1 move, but also that's 1 move. 1 complete movement is a move. So there's lots of different ways of reorientating these pieces, by the way, to give you different challenges. So you don't necessarily think, oh, once I've solved this, I'm done with it. No, I like puzzles that have got a few challenges, and this certainly does have a few challenges. So we have to think. We have to think about our constraints, and we have to plan ahead and not be worried about backtracking. That's a kind of another kind of hint I can give you there. Generally, don't worry about messing up with these kind of puzzles. Just kind of enjoy them and relax and get into them. And I think now it would be a good time to have a little spoiler break, because I'm going to try and solve this. I might not necessarily solve it, but let's see if we can solve it. And the first thing we knew from looking at our mini version when we took out the pawns and the rooks was that we need to find a way of getting one of these knights down. And again, don't just go straight into it thinking, oh, I'll take this knight down, because you can't put the bishop into a space that's the wrong orientation. There's no twists with these puzzles. So actually it's the other knight that will need to come down. Now the only real other constraint was, these knights have to be out of the way. There's no way this king is going to pass both the bishops and the knight in this orientation. So I'm actually going to look at trying to find a way of getting this knight out from where he currently is. And straight away we can see a little problem here is the interaction again between the knights and the bishops. So if we backtrack a little bit here, I think how can we we make this a little bit easier or harder. Maybe if I put some of these smaller pieces up the top here. I'm not a fan of these being split up, so as soon as I get the opportunity, I want those to come back together. Yeah, I'm not convinced that that was the way to solve it. So again, let's think about what we need to do. Don't be worried about, you know, going back and repositioning your pieces. So we want to move that king down, and to do that, if I cycle these pieces around, I'm still not going to be able to do that. I seem to have an issue doing it in that manner. Maybe what I need to do is exchange one of these bishops for two of the smaller pieces, which shouldn't be too difficult to do. Okay, so I've got a slightly different kind of orientation now. Let's try again. This knight has to be switched with two of these smaller pawns, so the pawns can go in behind. I've not quite got this knight out where I need to get it to. Again, it's going to struggle to pass at this point. I certainly need one of these bishops to slide underneath. Like this. And now I can get that second knight out. I took those pawns in behind. And I've got those two bishops. So this is the kind of setup that I would be looking to get into. Now it's just a case of seeing if I can move my pieces around in such a way, yeah, as to just cycle the king out. So that's quite a difficult problem. We solved it fairly quickly there. Definitely get yourself a set like this. Like I say, you can reorientate the pieces, turn them over if you don't like chess, and it's a really nice puzzle to think with and to practice with. And then whenever you're on your phone, check out that link below. This is the first one. It's called Simplicity. It's 18 moves. I'm not going to count my moves because I'll probably get it wrong. If I actually will. I'll count my moves and we'll just see. Dark piece, top right. No twists, no turns. You can either go left or right, or I suppose across the middle, but that's less likely. And we are pretty constrained here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I didn't find the perfect solution there, but 20 moves to solve that puzzle. These do get much more complicated, and there are lots more pieces you'll need for larger boards, but just play it online. It's absolutely fantastic to play online. It's really easy. You can go back and you can redo moves. So hopefully you found that interesting, not too boring. I'm going to be showcasing some classic puzzles, some new puzzles, all different types of variety. I'm going to try and keep solutions and spoilers to an absolute minimum this year. That's going to be one of my aims. So I'm only going to show solutions and spoilers to very obscure or old puzzles or something that people haven't seen. I'm going to try and concentrate more on reviews. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, please follow. We're getting quite close now to that 100 followers, and once we get the 100 followers, I'll be giving away a copy of Foldology. Again, I'll put a link to the Foldology video down below. That's all for now. Thank you and bye.